Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Bob Hart, East Norton Township Manager. I'm just off screen for you all. I wanted to take a moment to kind of summarize and give you some of the answers and information that we presented this past Tuesday at our meeting concerning the quarry, the Gill Quarry development, and its future uses in the neighborhood. We had a meeting this past Tuesday that had some in-person attendees. We also had it on Zoom, and it was a very, what I thought, successful meeting because it really explained much of what's going on there, answered a lot of questions because there's so much misinformation and misunderstanding what we've all had over the years regarding Gill Quarry, and quite frankly, every quarry in the Commonwealth. They're very complex issues, and they create a ton of issues that have to be worked through over the years, and worked through with a variety of state agencies who really take the lead on just about everything when it comes to mining and quarries. Okay, first and foremost, I want to start with for all of us that live near or around quarries, our biggest and obviously first and most important issue that we deal with is the blasting. We all know how it affects our daily life, how it affects our properties, the structures of our homes, the foundations. We all have that concern, and it is absolutely valid, and is something that we struggle with as residents and also as township officials continually. There is good news. I can tell you that the blasting at Gill Quarry is very close to being done. It is essentially done at this point. To give you a little history, for many years, people who lived in the Gill Quarry neighborhood know this if they lived there for decades. When the quarry was owned by the Gill family, it was virtually not used for mining purposes. There was very few business transactions that went in there. There were some trucks that would come in each day, 2, 5, maybe 10 trucks a day. There was no blasting for a couple decades. So it was very much a non-issue. It had very little effect on the surrounding neighborhood and neighbors. About 3 or 4 years ago, Mr. Gill passed away. The Gill family sold the quarry to the current owners, Mr. Ratoski and Mr. Trainer, who, per their right, revived the mining operation and really built a thriving business there at the quarry. We went from the past, when the Gill family owned it, to 2 trucks a day, 5 trucks a day, 10 maybe on a good day, to more than 200 or more trucks a day currently. That has obviously had a major effect on the neighborhood surrounding the quarry, as well as traffic and infrastructure conditions in that area. And we are all, anyone who's familiar with the area understands that and experiences that. And quite frankly, anywhere there's quarries in the Commonwealth, you can see stories and see much information on the effects of the surrounding areas. That being said, the new owners, per their right, really ramped up business. The good thing is at this point that blasting is within, it is all required at this point. So the current owner is required to reclaim the quarry hole, which is a reclamation process required by DEP. So, and reclamation means responsibly and regulated a refilling of the quarry. That refilling and reclamation process will take a couple decades, 20, 25 years at a minimum. But that process will continue like it had in much of the same way the prior Gill, the old time Gill Quarry had with a different type of customer there, refilling the hole. That process is governed by the Department of Environmental Protection of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. They regulate just about everything when it comes to mining and quarries. They are requiring certain, a limited number, 1, 2, or 3 basic blastings left to prepare the ridges for mining or for the reclamation process. So the active mining process is essentially over. It's really the reclamation process, and blasting is not part of that, other than an occasional blast that's something for the integrity of the mine being refilled or the hole being refilled. So the good news is for all of us, and especially the people that live close to any quarry, the ending of active blasting and mining is upon us, and it is literally essentially over at this point. So that is a good thing, and we take great solace in that part of it is in the past. That being said, the process of the quarry being refilling is going to take, like I said, several decades, and everything that is done at the quarry, just about everything, falls under the Department of Environmental Protection and included in a mining permit from DEP. What that does is that preempts 98% of township regulations and rules. They all fall under the state and the DEP rules and regulations. So the township has very limited ability to affect what goes on at the quarry or around the quarry. Where we can, we obviously work to do that, and we'll talk more about that later. But I wanted to give you a little background on the quarry status, where we are, the good news that blasting is essentially over, and where we go from here. Okay, so before you on the screen, you'll see there is a development plan. You may recall about 4 or 5 years ago, there was a plan. A developer had come in. This was when the Gill family owned it. They wanted to buy the back portion, the foresty portion of the quarry, which is approximately 60 acres. It's all wooded area up Schultz and around. And that plan never materialized, partly nothing to do with anyone other than the developer had some outside other projects going on, and it wasn't feasible for them at the time. So the new owner, Mr. Rotowski and Mr. Trainer, have come into the township with 2 different proposals for development of the back 60 acres, the back forested area of the quarry property. The first one is before you right now on the screen. This plan is a by right plan. And I mean, when I say by right, I say that it is a technical term, it's a term of art, but what it means is this plan, as long as the developer follows the rules and regulations of zoning and land development process of the township, they don't need relief from the township. So they are allowed to build what you see on the screen now without coming to the township for any particular approval to build there. As you can see, Trooper Road on the left, up top, Township Line Road. This area right here is basically the hole, and Pot Shop Road is along the right side. On the bottom side is Schultz Road. The owner did come into the township in the last 6 or 7 months with a plan for townhouses in this area. I can tell you the township denied that request of a plan because that was not something the owner had the right to do. He needed relief and permission from the township to do townhouses. And I can tell you the thought process by township staff and township elected, our board of supervisors, was that in this area, it's a single home area, single family homes dominate this area. We didn't think it was appropriate for the character of the neighborhood to have townhouses. We knew he had the right to do single homes. He wanted to do townhouses. We thought stay with single homes. That is more appropriate and better for the area in a lot of ways. That's the first reason we denied the townhouse request, was because of the character of the neighborhood didn't own that, or didn't lend itself to townhouses. Secondly, the owner has the right to do approximately 60 single homes. His plan for townhouses was approximately 160 homes. So first, we didn't think townhouses work in this area, this single family home area. We also, 60 homes is one thing, 160 adds unnecessary and excessive traffic and cars and such to the neighborhood. So for those two reasons, we thought it prudent to deny the owner's original plan of townhomes, of 160 or so townhomes. And he went back to the drawing board, submitted this plan. And again, this current plan is approximately 62 single family homes on this property. It's a by right plan, meaning he can do it as long as he follows the rules. If he follows the rules, he's allowed to build it by law. If you see the section on the bottom of Schultz Road, this is all currently forest, very woodsy area. Part of this plan would have these, I think it's 14 or 6 and 8, 14 homes in this area, a cul-de-sac down here, off of Schultz Road. That would mean the woodsy area here would be taken down, and these single family homes would be put along there, including this. And this would not be any age restricted development. This would just be a traditional single family home development on the process. Now, I will, and again, this is just the plan. There is so much that would go on between stormwater and every other thing that is part of the land development process, which would be way down the line, and it would take much work and much review by the township, and there'd be a lot of work to be done. And that's not before us now, and won't be before us for quite a while until the applicant gets there. Now, this is what the applicant submitted. He can do this by right. What he asked us and what he did was submit a second alternative plan. We're going to put the alternative plan up in a minute, but the reason, and I'll give you the highlights. What the alternative plan is, eliminates these homes along the bottom where the wooded area would remain. So you would have all of this area remain wooded. This would basically stay here, just about the same as it is, maybe a little different. But all that would remain, and to do that, he would bunch his homes, make them a little smaller, but bunch them in the center of the 60-acre property. For leaving this wooded, he asked for 10 more single homes. So the first plan is for 60 to 62 single family homes, this one, and his alternative plan, which I'm going to show you in a second, is around 70 to 72 single family homes. Dave, if you could switch that, I'd appreciate it. Okay, thank you. This is the alternative plan. As you can see, the homes along the cul-de-sac is still here, and I think 1 or 2 are added into it, but 5 homes along the bottom here, which is Schultz Road, would be eliminated, and this would all remain woodsy area, and much of it the natural habitat. There would be, again, 10 more homes sort of clustered in the middle of the property, but that's the trade-off. And when we brought it to the residents at the meeting on Tuesday, our first and foremost thing was, we want to know the people that live along here. is the wooded area important to you? And if it is that important to you, maybe we consider allowing 70 or 72 homes and keeping this open. If it is not of concern to you, then we would keep it to the original plan, 60 to 62 homes, and there would be 5 or 7 extra homes along here. So that's something we're still talking about. We're going to bring those two to everyone at a later date. But it really is, it's an interesting proposition. Again, he can absolutely do the other plan with the houses along here, but he's given us an option that if we give him a few more units, he will not develop along here. So it's an interesting proposition. It's something that we're looking forward to hearing more from, especially the residents along Schultz Road, who are most affected by it. We've heard from several already who don't seem to have a preference either way. But it's an interesting time and an interesting plan and an interesting idea. So there'll be more discussion on that, but that is where we are with those two plans now. That being said, I'm going to move over now. So that was presented early on at the meeting on Tuesday, and we transitioned from that to many of the uses, the current and future uses of the quarry hole, the mining hole, and some other questions that have come up in the past that we've worked and researched and met with the Department of Environmental Protection to find out answers and details to some of these questions. And I have answers, I had many of the answers the other day, which I will share with you today. But we also have gotten additional answers since Tuesday through several calls and meetings with state officials and the developer or the owner of the quarry. So if you can give me a second, we'll transition to answer these next questions. Okay. So as I said, some of the questions that came up during our meeting, and many of the questions that we've known and have been dealing with for, quite frankly, several years, are things that I'm going to reiterate some of the answers and some of the information that we gave to residents on Tuesday. But also, since Tuesday, we've had several calls with the Department of Environmental Protection. We met with the owner of the quarry, and I think we have some further answers and clarifications from the state, but I also think we've made some progress, not only with DEP, but with the owner of the owners, Mr. Ratoski and Mr. Trainer of the quarry. We met with them. They understood some of the concerns that were brought up and have offered some remedies to that and to try to help work on even further remedies. So I'll start. If you recall, like I mentioned in the beginning, blasting of the quarry, the active mining of the quarry is essentially over. The reclamation process is close to beginning, where the reclamation process really is a slow process of filling it, filling the hole according to the Department of Environmental Protection regulations, rules and regulations, and all their laws and statutes, but reclaiming it, filling it in for eventual normal ground. That process will take 20 to 25 years at a minimum. So it's not something that any of us have a lot to be concerned about the reclamation of it now, but 25 or 30 years from now, that will be a different story of what actually goes on that property when it is officially reclaimed, safe, filled, and so on. So some of the questions that were brought up at the meeting, I'll bring them, and they were great questions. They were questions we had them answered in the past by DEP, but we wanted to reconfirm before we brought them out, before we answered them again. So they have a crusher on the property where they crush stone. Anybody that lives anywhere near a quarry, when you walk out of your house some days, you smell the crushing process or different processes that are going on. There was a concern by township staff several years ago, by residents several years ago, and a few residents that were here on Tuesday about the safety of that air. So that air, the air quality is governed by the Department of Environmental Protection. They have, the owners of the quarry, and every quarry they apply for and receive and have to follow stringent guidelines for a clean air permit, a quality, oh my Lord, I'm saying it incorrectly, air quality permit. It's a critical piece of that mining process and what they're doing on the site. And it is, again, regulated by DEP. DEP has all the records. DEP follows this, monitors this on a regular basis. Township has no role in it other than to ask if everything is being is up to code or as far as the permit, and we have been assured that it is by the Department of Environmental Protection. Secondly, there was another question. If you recall, off of Schultz Road, there has recently, in the last several months, large mounds of dirt, fill. There was a concern, there were several concerns on that, but first and foremost there was a question, is that clean fill? Is it contaminated? Is it safe? Township staff had dealt with this several years ago, but we wanted to make sure, we reached out again, that the safety of that is absolutely comes under DEP purview. DEP requires testing, sample testing of loads when they leave a site and when they come into a site. So that happens on a regular basis, the testing. It is monitored and regulated by DEP. And as far as the township, we ask to make sure everything, there's been no violations or it is all being done properly. And DEP assures us it has and it is. And if it hasn't, DEP works with the owner of the quarry and always has the ability to provide some type of remedy or fine, if not. Now, that's not saying that from what we've been told, everything is completely the way it should be. The permits are followed. DEP staff is on top of it and continues to monitor it like they do at all other quarry sites and mining sites. As far as, let me go on to the next one. As far as the area that, if you recall, in the last year or two, Mr. Rotowski and Mr. Trainer put up a berm along Pot Shop and up part of the way up to on Schultz Road. Additionally, on that berm, they planted trees, what we would consider a Christmas tree, numerous ones all along. I know the township and many residents have expressed their appreciation for that because that was a step of a good neighbor to try to make the area a little nicer and try to put more of a buffer between the neighborhood and the neighbors' homes and the quarry operations. It wouldn't take long for you to drive through that neighborhood. You would find out pretty quickly that several of those trees have small trees, but they have died over time. We reached out immediately. The owners of the quarry had actually ordered the trees again for replacement. They were supposed to be in Thursday today. They had ordered them weeks ago. So those trees are going to be replaced. The quarry owner also offered, and we'll be in discussions of that with them on this, if there was a need to raise the berms a little higher. That they would be open to talking about that, which would create an even larger buffer, not only from the operations, but aesthetically, and to try to make it as an attractive corner and roadway on Schultz as possible. So the owner definitely was understood some of the issues and has committed to working with us, not only to replace the trees, but potentially to raise the berm and make it even a little more attractive for all residents involved. Another issue, which you obviously, if you live in the area, but even if you visit the area, you would know, On the other side of those trees, if you turn up Schultz Road off a pot shop, on the other side of those trees that we're talking about replacing, the owner's talking about replacing, recently, in the last so many months, there has been a large mound of dirt. Some of that dirt, like it does at every other quarry, and a quarry I'm very familiar with, in stormy weather, in the winds especially, throws that dirt, fine particles of it, into the neighborhood, especially the neighborhood along Schultz Road, which dirties the cars on a regular basis. It dirties your siding on a regular basis. If you have awnings and porch awnings, anything like that, yard umbrellas, it dirties them on a continual basis. We've shared that with the owner. He has offered to move that mound further away so this isn't an issue, and not only that, keep it at a lower level to avoid these types of things. So between that, the trees, and potentially raising the berm, we are hopeful, with working with the owner of the quarry, to substantially reduce, if not eliminate, the blowing of those dirt particles onto neighbors' homes and their belongings. So we will be actively working with the owner on that issue. There's another issue. We did a sound study in the neighborhood, numerous streets in the neighborhood. There were some violations of the noise. We are currently working to find out exactly what those violations were. There weren't many, but there were violations over the allowable limit. So that is an ongoing process. We just met with the owner and discussed the sound study. We provided them with a copy, and we will be working over the next several weeks with the owner to try to first identify those sounds and those issues, and then how to remedy them. So we'll have more information on the sound issue in the coming weeks and months, because, and I will say that the owners of the quarry were understanding and offered their commitment to try to work through this and solve this and make it a better situation for the neighbors. They reached out this morning, the owners, because there is an issue, as everybody knows, when their trucks come in and they back up, and they do a lot of backup work. OSHA, another agency, governmental agency that regulates safety, workplace safety, requires those very annoying backup sounds, those backup beepers, which we all know can be extremely loud and annoying to boot. They have reached out to OSHA, the owners, and there is a sort of a muffler type insert that can lower the decibels of the backup and these are allowed by OSHA in certain situations, and the quarry appears to fit that sort of exemption where they're allowed to implement these on their trucks. They have committed to us today that they would implement those on the backs of their trucks, which would be a huge benefit from a sound perspective. So that was the first thing, and I have to say I appreciate that they offered that right away. They took some of the meeting they were on the Zoom portion of the meeting. They took it on their own, some of the things the issues that came up, and went and researched them, and literally came to us with a solution to that issue. So we're going to continue to work with them on the backup beepers, which is definitely a help. We are actively working with them on other things to move some of the processes to different parts of the quarry, which would help with sound, but also identify any other sounds that may be coming from the site or near the site. We need to identify them and work to resolve them, which we are actively doing, and we will keep you apprised of that work and that identification and remedies as we know more. There was another question that was brought up about tree chipping, grinding. We investigated that. That is, there is a back section. There's very limited. Occasionally a tree or two is chopped in the back section as they work under the next to the hole. We visited the area. It's very limited. It's been done sometimes a couple hours every couple months to try to get things together. They are actively, they understand they're not allowed to just go clear cut in any manner, and we'll be working with them. But it is, that's something we've identified as a very, very sporadic and rarely implemented part of what they do. So we'll continue to work with them and monitor that particular issue. Many people in the past also had mentioned they sell mulch there. And that was something that we discussed, and so everyone is aware. The quarry is not allowed, not permitted, to sell mulch retail. That means they're not allowed to sell it to Joe or Bob or Fred who live in the neighborhood or around the neighborhood or down the street who want to come in and buy mulch. However, they are, per code, allowed to sell it wholesale. So if a landscaping company comes in or some type of construction company that needs a large bulk purchase of mulch, that is permitted. That's important. The important was they didn't want, the importance of the code was it's more an industrial effort and business part of the industrial complex there, and not part of a retail sales. We can't, the thought of having cars and people stopping by for a little load of mulch in the back of their SUV, that wasn't something that was considered safe for the area and that type of industrial area. So that the retail part is absolutely not permitted, prohibited completely, but wholesale mulch is available to purchase there. And the mulch is not made there. The mulch is made at another site. I'm pretty sure it's a site they own in the King of Prussia area. And they bring a portion of it to the Gill Quarry site for sale. Let me see. So the last issue, and again, we've worked hard to deal with as many of these issues as possible and to give as much information as we have. The last issue is anybody who knows, if you're in the area at all, these large trucks. If you live anywhere near a quarry, many of us do, in a variety of townships, the trucks that go in and out can be intimidating and can be overwhelming from a quality of life standard. I will say, in the past, as you recall, I said earlier that the blasting has virtually, effectively ceased. There were tons of trucks coming in there. We strongly expect trucks to continue to come in there during the reclamation process, meaning filling the hole over the years, but definitely not in the same quantity as in the past when it was an active reclamation and selling of the blasted stone. So we definitely expect a change in the quantity of trucks that go on there, but we're also exploring several other options that I hope to have information for you in the future. We have worked closely with the developer, as you recall, with the owner of the quarry. Many times there's dirt and dust on the roadway on Pot Shop. We've been out there hundreds of times to do our best to work with the owner. The owner has committed, and we've got the owner out, and the owner's a phone call away, and we have worked successfully in many ways. It's not a perfect thing. When you live by a quarry like that, it is a constant, every hour challenge. But the owner has committed to continuing to work at that in every manner to remedy those situations. And the township has expressed to the owner that we will continue to be involved in enforcement of that and to make sure that the roadway is safe and not dusty, not dangerous, and aesthetically as pleasing as possible. So that's important on our end. We also, from a police perspective, for traffic. We are working on a couple other options that we're hoping we're not sure of their viability yet. We hope to know that in the coming weeks. But in the meantime, we're going to do our best to have a directed enforcement in that area. As you recall, you can go down towards Paul Fly School. We often have officers there pulling over trucks for a variety of reasons. The problem with it is, as we know and you all know, the minute our police officers can be there for 5 hours. The moment they leave, people start driving the way they did prior. So it's something we're aware of. It's something we're working hard on, and we're looking at ways to get these drivers to become more responsible and safer in every way. So I assure you, it's something that Chief and I are dealing with, and we will continue to deal with, and until we get it to the best possible situation we can. So we do have another meeting next week, and we're going to send out a Zoom. There'll be a Zoom link on our website, and they're also available here. But I can say it's not a continuation meeting. It's basically what I'm giving you on this video. We don't have any additional answers, and as we do have additional information, we will post it on our website. We also have an email group from the area. If you are not on the email group, this information will be sent out, including this video, please email us at info@eastnartentwp.org. Again, info@eastnartentwp.org. We will put you on the email list, and you will get updates as we get any further answers as far as dealing with the trucks or any other type of issue that we're continually monitoring. But I can tell you right now, we have more information than we've ever had as far as the quarry operations, the quarry's future operations. We have as many answers as possible at this point. There will be other things that come up later down the line when the proposed development in the back eventually starts. That looks, by the way, that development that we talked about earlier, the single homes, I know the owners of the quarry plan to do that themselves and basically build one at a time. So that's something that would take several years and years to work through. So it's to actually get them all built. So it's a really long-term project for them. But it's something that we will work closely with them, work closely with the residents as that part starts up. But please be assured that every other part of it, we are not only working with the Department of Environmental Protection and every other state agency that can be dealt with here. We are working with our state representatives in the House, Matt Bradford's office, and State Senator Amanda Capoletti's office. So we're all on the same page to do everything we can to make this the best possible situation. We all understand it's a quarry. They are entitled to do certain things. And we are committed, and I know the state is committed because they have the most, DEP has the most responsibility in this by far. They're committed to we can't make it go away, but we can work to make it the best possible situation for our residents, respecting the right of the quarry owner as owner of the property and a business to function. So we respect that line, but that is our goal, and we will continue to keep you updated on all of these issues. I want to thank you, and please feel free. Again, email us, get on our email list. It's not always easy to get out to meetings or even get on a Zoom call, but this video that you're going to have shortly truly provides every bit of information we have to this point. At this point, there's nothing more that I can offer. But in the coming weeks and months, we hope to have more, and we will keep you advised and up to date on everything as it occurs. So I appreciate you coming out and taking the time to read or watch this video. I know it's a little long, but I couldn't make it any shorter because these are big issues. If you live in the area, critical issues to your life and to your well-being. And I appreciate you listening. Thank you.